Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to week two. So first and foremost, I really hope that you had an amazing week last week on your Vision Kickoff night, that it was special, that people felt connected, that they were excited to receive their books, and that they've all started their homework, as they go home. They've got the 5 days of daily devotion that are in there. And so this week, we're going to, really dive in, and this is going to be the first week that it really feels like you guys are kind of meeting, discussing, going through like your normal kind of small group format for what Rooted is going to look like really for the next 5 weeks in a row. So you've got 2 through 7 or 6 weeks in a row. You're going to go 2 through 7 meeting in this format, and then if you have more than one group, starting in week 8, we're going to do a large group, kind of everybody back together, kind of a format. But this will be week after week, and so again, feel free to have your people meet there at the church during the workday if it's a staff led kind of staff only pilot. If it's including more people in your meeting, whose home are you going to meet at, where are you going to meet, how is that going to be set up? And so you want that welcoming environment to kind of carry through. But again, in the hopes that this is going to model what your facilitator training in the future is going to look like, I wanted to bring a couple questions in today that we can stop and pause together and just kind of think through. So the first one is this, and I'll make myself smaller over here so that I don't get in the way of the words. But the first one is, what can we celebrate from this past week? And that's really asking the question, what do we want to replicate? So as you look ahead towards your all church launch, you want to make sure that every week you're just pausing here, taking a little bit of time and going, man, what are the amazing things that happened? Was there great group dynamic? Did people share more than they thought? Did the night come together in the way that you hoped when you did your kind of progressive dinner, or your just kind of catered meal in together? So, or a potluck of some sort, whatever that is. What are the things that you can celebrate that we want to make sure that we're replicating in the future? And so if you need to pause here, write down a few things, go right ahead and do that. The next thing that you want to do is to go, man, what happened this past week that I don't want to happen again? What questions do we have? And so, maybe a couple things didn't go as planned. Maybe we need to make sure that you're, kind of marking those things down for the future. Maybe some of the questions or the way that you formatted some things, the icebreaker, whatever it was, just didn't work exactly the way that you wanted it to. And so make sure that you're documenting those things. But what the beautiful thing is that if you have a group of people together in the future, coming off of each week when you're doing this just-in-time training, this gives you the chance, as they say, man, this one person kind of overshared and I didn't really know how to deal with that. Great. You get to do some leadership development time and some coaching with them to help them be the best facilitator, but future small group leader that they can be. And so think of this time as really valuable time as you're looking towards your all church launch in the future, that you can kind of model leadership development time here. So we're going to jump right in. We're going into week 2, and you're asking the question, who is God? And so this is going to be a great week to really set the tempo as you're looking ahead. You're going to have some people in here that may not be believers when you get to all church launch. So you get to really, bring up some questions for them and let them express some thoughts and feelings and fears that they may have around who God is. And, is there a God? All these other things. But then also, as they're asking questions, as we're being great facilitators, I get to redirect those questions to the group and go, man, what was that like when you were first understanding who God was? What did that look like for you? And they get to share their experiences, which is a huge part of them growing as future leaders. And so there's a couple things. Again, we're going to jump right into this training video here as we set the tempo and set kind of what we're looking for week 2, and then we'll get into our goals, some prayer points, flow, and checklist for the day. So let's watch this together.
Welcome to week 2, Who is God? This is an exciting week in your group. You might get new people added to your group, so you'll have a mixture of people that are returning and even some first timers. This week, you're diving into a discussion. A lot of people have false or incomplete images of God, and today you get to talk about that. So be comfortable in the uncomfortableness that may arise in this discussion. Silence is okay. You aren't expected as the leader to fill that silence, nor should you. Give people a chance to step up in the group and to share.
Remember to start your group off with an icebreaker question. People still don't know each other's names, so use name tags, play the name game, or do an icebreaker like two truths and a lie. This just helps people to get to know each other in a comfortable way where there are no right or wrong answers. It helps us engage in conversation so that we feel like we're in a room of people who are just like us. It creates safety and allows us to build trust.
In leading a group on this topic in particular, people can say things that are absolutely surprising. So I want to encourage you as a leader, don't react to what people say. Don't teach, don't correct, listen, observe, and redirect questions. Let the group participate in all aspects of the discussion. Use your Bibles during the discussion and encourage your group to respond in the same way.
If you do get asked a direct question during the group that seems a bit off topic, let them know that you appreciate the question and that you'll follow up with them after the group time. If it is a question you don't know the answer to, talk to your rooted pastor and get back to them next week. Hopefully you shared a story last week of how you became a Christian and what it means to live and follow Christ as you have asked someone to share their story tonight. If you don't have someone already prepared to share their story, wait and give them time to prepare that. You want to make sure that every week you have people sharing their story of where they met Jesus and how God has changed their life.
This is all in preparation for week 9, when the group will be sent out to share their stories. Also allows for people in the group to get to know each other in a very different way.
Lastly, you want to make sure that your group is ready for your prayer experience. You want to have the time and day and all the logistics set so everyone's able to participate. Communicate this during the group and do a follow-up contact during the week.
I know you're going to have a great discussion this week. Be excited about it. Pray for God to show you how to lead the discussion and help people open up their hearts to what God will do.
So as you saw that, a couple things I want to just, bring some note to. One, I love that as we're in this time, we're always looking ahead and preparing people. Sometimes, even in your pilot, the thing that frustrates people is a lack of knowledge of what's coming and expectations. So as we look ahead, we're always thinking like, man, these things are setting us up for this. So you heard him say that even as you're sharing stories, you're sharing stories so that they're going to share their walk with Christ story and kind of their testimony, but you want to use the word story because it helps us with people that are going to be in your future groups that may not know Jesus yet. So they may have an incomplete story right now, but they still have a story. And so where are they on the journey? But it also helps us set up for week 9 when we're going to start crafting those stories together. So you get to make notes of what those stories are so that if they don't have a great understanding of what their testimony is, which your staff should, I understand, but as you're going through your pilot, but as you're looking forward to other semesters, of people that may not have that together yet, you can help them to craft that in a really beautiful way. And so looking ahead here, here's some goals for this week. One, obviously, we're still working on community. When I lead a group, I think, man, the first 3 to 4 weeks, that time up front, that icebreaker time, can be a little bit longer than it will be in the future, in the weeks following. And I don't want you to make the mistake that these icebreakers are not good for your staff who you think know each other pretty well, because let me give you a understanding is that they probably don't know all the things that they're going to find out about each other over the next 10 weeks. You're going to grow and maybe come to know some people better, even if you've been on staff for multiple years. I mean, how many times do we get to walk by each other's offices and sit and go, hey, tell me about, how you learned, how you came to know Christ. Tell me about your family. Those things don't get to happen. They usually happen a little more organically over time. This is going to be an opportunity for us to learn a lot about each other in a very short amount of time. So doing the 2 truths and a lie that Christian talked about, or even a game that I love that's in there is the coin game. Give them a year and ask them what was going on during that year. So obviously you got to be smart with what years you give to what people, because you might get, I was not even born yet, or had just been born, those kind of things. So find some coins and some dates that you can get them in that high school, college, middle school age groups and go, man, what were you listening to? Whose posters were on the wall? What were you driving? What were you listening to on the radio? What was your favorite movies during that time? Give me a picture of what you were like in 19 blah, 2000, whatever. And so it gives you a little picture. And I've just learned so much about people by using these icebreakers. And there's a bunch of them located in the back appendix of the book. So use that facilitator guide every single week because it's going to be your friend there. Obviously, this is still a time to cast vision for the group. You want to make sure you're setting expectations for how we share and what God's going to do, but also along the way, encouraging vulnerability. Still, you're going to want to keep getting people involved. You might even be somebody that just wants to bring snacks every single week, or they want to schedule people to bring snacks. My wife loves to organize things, and so I get her to be my snack list person. Any of those things are going to be really important. And so if anybody happened to miss this past week, you want to make sure you're going over administrative details with them. Some prayer points for this week. So leading up to this, don't miss the opportunity to pray for your group every single week and pray for every single person by name. So pray that they're going to come back excited. Some of your staff have tons of things going on. And so they're going to think of this as another thing in the beginning. And so, but you want to make sure that you're praying for them and that God's going to start to kind of, build that excitement in them. Pray that they're going to share authentically. This is something that is really difficult. Again, in this staff, elder, high capacity volunteer space that you're going to have in this pilot, you want them to feel the freedom to share authentically. And so if you're going to do that, you got to go first. And if you've got a lead pastor, you might talk to them about them being people that go first, because when they share, it just brings some beautiful weight and freedom for the rest of your group. And so you go first in that. Make sure you're praying for wisdom and insight and a heart for these people. So you're going to really get to know them in new ways, and you want God to give you this supernatural love for them, even beyond what you had going in. And then also pray that God is going to help uproot false or incomplete images of him. I don't care how long you've been a believer. Our understanding of how God sees us is something that just grows year after year after year and through seasons. And so I'm just praying for you and for your group that there's going to be some incomplete images of how God sees them that might be tied to some hurt and pain in their past that God's going to free them from. So you want to pray all those things as you're going through this week. And so the flow is going to have that, build a welcoming environment. You just let them come in, hang for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe have some snacks, have some things set up so that they know that this is a time where we can just, be together and get things set up, and then go through your icebreaker time. And then you want to have at least 10 minutes in there for story. So hopefully you assign 2 people the week before, so they come in and they're ready to share, and you get to understand a little bit more about these people. And then 15 minutes up front, for just some intro questions to kind of get things kind of ramped up a little bit. Your facilitator guide always has some intro questions that help lead you into discussion that gets conversation flowing. And these intro questions may feel like a little disjointed in the beginning, but it gets people talking, and it always leads well into the discussion time, which you're going to make about 40 minutes for. You're going to take some time for prayer requests at the end. And so you always want to make time to pray for one another, and then closing and then the looking ahead there at the end. And again, we talked about it in that video that the prayer experience is coming, and the prayer experience is not tied to next week's discussion time of prayer. And so, and if for some reason you are doing it that way, where you're going to have that, and you're going to have an extended extra long time where you're going to do some discussion time, and then you're going to have your prayer experience after, just make sure you're giving them that information so that they know that going in. Your staff will go, we know how to pray. We pray together, but having that time together where they can have individual time of prayer and prayer together as a group is going to be really special. And it's a beautiful time where they can really experience what we ask people to do all the time. And this is a rhythm that you want to build in. And so, you want to just kind of give them what that expectation is going into next week. And then lastly, your checklist, arrive early again, make sure you got that room set up well, make it welcoming and inviting, and keep your name tags. If, the staff may not know all the people that are in that, the elder group, or high capacity volunteers, keep your name tags there. Especially if it's a kind of a mixed group like that. Make sure you get 2 people ready to share for this coming week, and let them know ahead of time, and make sure the prayer experience date is set. So if you're gonna meet, let's say on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, or during the day, Tuesday, Wednesday day, and you're gonna meet again together maybe Saturday morning at the park. It's a beautiful time of year right now, nationwide, in that fall kind of time frame. So being outside together and having some time to just wander around the park, praying praying together would be a beautiful thing. Start talking about this the serve experience date, and that's something for you as you're in this moment. Think about, how many people you have in your pilot and where are they going to serve? How can you serve one-on-one with people? We'll talk a lot about what makes a great serve experience in the future, but you may need to do some footwork, depending on how big your pilot is, on where these people can serve. So don't leave it up to their group to just do it on their own and just expect that they're going to do it. You want to give them options, or if they're going to come up with it on their own, they've got to submit that to you so that you go, yep, like you got some accountability on that for your pilot, but also for your future facilitators. And this can be a time where you start building some relationships, thinking ahead towards your all church launch, because if you had 200, 100, 500 people, where in a 2-week period can you have them serve? It's probably going to overwhelm just one partner. So you're going to have multiple places in multiple parts of the city, multiple areas, but you can make a difference, and you can start to see the city is going to know who your church is, because you're going to be sending people out into the community 3 times a year at a minimum to serve in Rooted groups, and they're going to have ongoing serving relationships coming out of Rooted. So take this opportunity to start building new relationships in town for people to serve. And so start thinking about that and talking about where and when. And then make sure your communication is set up. And then, did everybody turn in their Rooted covenant last week? And so as you go through this week, this is going to be a tone setter for the rest of the semester. And so keep just pouring into your people. Put relationship first in these first couple weeks, build and create great group dynamics, vulnerability, sharing, and it's going to be a really, really great time for you. And so I'm really excited for you to come back next week in week 3, because you have your first experience coming up next week as we start to unpack how we talk to God and make space for that with your church. So excited for you, praying for you. Hope you have a great week. See you next time.